Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing well. And in our last video, I had mentioned that on April 1st, we would get our first magazine cover story for Papa 5 with the new issue of Metal Hammer. Well, it's April 1st, so let's start diving into this article. In particular, in this video, we will be reading through their complete breakdown of each song from the upcoming album Skeleta. So obviously, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know any details about each of the upcoming songs, then come back to this video at a later date. Alright, so let's start going through each song. And yes, my pronunciation might be terrible, so you've been warned. But I'll list the song and their description first, then I'll list what Tobias has to say about each song as well. Track 1, Peacefield. Building from a moving children's choir into a histrionic, heart-bursting shot of 80s rock and roll theater, it's the kind of epic album opener that now seems to be par for the course for Ghost. Tobias says, because the record is going to slalom into darker subjects, I wanted to set a tone of hope in the beginning. I wanted to add a hand to the listener. It will all be fine, but we're gonna go sideways now and go on a little trip. Track 2, Lacrima. Throwing us straight back into classic Ghost territory with the heavy marching riff, Lacrima reads like an aborted Nosferatu screenplay wrapped into Sabbathian doom metal and glorious AOR cheese. Lacrima's vampiric motifs reek of bitter, broken hearts. I'm done crying over someone like you. Tobias says it opens with more of a riffage, and I guess now comes off as somewhat of a typical Ghost mashup, where it's heavy on one end and met with a big bombastic chorus. That's a song about self-deceit. Track 3, Satanized, with such a merrily nefarious chorus that digs into your cranium with all the subtlety of a David Cronenberg horror, it's no real surprise that this was plucked as the album's first single and the world's introduction to Papa 5. Tobias says, Satanized is a song about love, not being possessed by a demon, but the idea of coming off as being possessed by a demon because you're in love. So it felt like that was going to suit the record really well. Track 4, Guiding Lights. Get your phone lights out. The album's first big power ballad is dropped in early, and it's a corker. That the road that leads to nowhere is long hook is surely destined to be belted back at Papa in all arenas soon. Tobias says Guiding Lights is the more traditional hard rock ballad of the record. It's about the non-ability to be able to speak to someone you know is going in the wrong direction. You don't dare say it. If I say this, we will not even be friends anymore. Track 5, De Profundis Borealis, a dose of searing heavy metal urgency after that sidestep into schmaltz. This is another massive modern Ghost earworm, but dig in a bit and there is certainly some of the Opus Eponymous era DNA still lurking. It seems to find our man trapped in cycles of regret. If only love could break these chains, life could go on. Tobias says Oscar Wilde wrote a letter called De Profundis, that means from the abyss. Borealis means northern, so for all you black metal fans, it's one of the most immortal-esque titles because it means from the northern abyss. Track 6, Cenotaph. A galloping burst of rock and roll drama, Cenotaph packs one of Skeleta's most profound emotional punches as it digs into the impact of the death of a loved one. Cenotaph movingly explores how those that have passed on stay with us. Wherever I go, you're always there riding next to me. Tobias says a cenotaph is a stone structure posing as a grave, but does not actually have a body inside. I thought that served as nice symbolism for the idea that someone dying isn't necessarily embodied by this buried physical entity inside a grave, but it is a part of our consciousness. Track 6, Missilia Amori. Look, there's a lot of deep stuff on Skeleta, but sometimes you just need a song that sounds like classic Kiss and packs lyrics about shooting love rockets into your face. Tobias says a lot of hard rock in the 80s was basically songs that were stripped to when love has started to appear as hate and disguises that as love, it can be extremely unpleasant. Track 7, Marks of the Evil One, a chuggy 80s rock anthem with another humdinger of a chorus. This is classic Ghost territory. Skyscraper hooks mashed up with devilishly evil lyrics. But who is the evil one here? Tobias says, I think it's more interesting focusing on who the marks are. Lyrically, it's a very dumbified interpretation of biblical writing, sort of simplified as something cool. Track 8, Umbra, in the shadow of the Nazarene, I put my love in you. Oh god, Papa sounding horny with his lyrics again. We defy anyone to hear the cowbell smacking away on this one and not get a little hot under the collar though. Tobias says, the message is basically all you need is love. I felt there needed to be one coital song on the record because at the end of the day, that's one of the main driving forces that we all have. And finally, track number 9, Excelsis. How on earth do you finish an album this bombastic? Why, with a big, swaying, waltzy ballad, of course. Sonically, Excelsis is a spiritual sister track to fellow Ghost album Ender's Life Eternal from Brickell and Respite on the Spital Fields from Impera. Excelsis finishes the album with the freeing embrace of our own mortality. Everybody leaves one day. I know it hurts. Everybody goes away. Tobias says the overall messaging, even though it's very death heavy, is simply that if you are listening to this, you are alive and you should live life as effectively as possible because death is inevitable. And that is the complete breakdown of Skeleta. According to these descriptions, this album sounds incredible. You definitely get the sense of the introspection that has been talked about, with each song focusing in on one aspect of oneself or one emotion. There doesn't seem to be any wasted space on this album, to the point of us not even getting an instrumental track and instead spreading extended musical pieces throughout the track list. But we really do seem to go through the full journey of human emotions within a single album, including the acceptance of our own mortality in the end, but making the most of what we have right here, right now. No pun intended. We are now just a little over 3 weeks away from the release date of the album, and I can't wait. I will have my review of the album up the day before release on April 24th, so stay tuned for that. But now let me know what you guys think of this album just by listening to the descriptions and Tobias's thoughts on each song. Which song are you most excited to hear? For me, the mention of an opus eponymous style on De Profundis Borealis makes that one of my most anticipated songs for now, since Opus is my favorite album. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all of our upcoming videos. And for more on Ghost, take a look at the rest of the channel, because if you have Ghost, you have everything.